Picture this. You're sitting at the family dinner table, and everyone's talking about their lives, their relationships, their need for constant validation from others. And then there's you, quiet, observing, analyzing. Someone asks why you're so distant, why you don't share everything, why you seem so different. You try to explain, but the words fall flat. They don't get it. They never will. If you've felt this disconnect, this invisible wall between you and your family, you're not alone. But here's what most people won't tell you. This isn't your problem to fix. This is the reality of walking the Sigma path. A path that terrifies those who've built their entire identity on external validation and collective approval. I'm going to reveal something that will fundamentally change how you see these family dynamics. For years, I've studied the Sigma male archetype, not as some internet trend, but as a legitimate psychological and social phenomenon. And what I've discovered is that the family misunderstanding isn't a bug in your system, it's a feature of theirs. They don't understand you because understanding you would require them to question everything they believe about success, happiness, and what it means to be a man in today's world. Your independence threatens their worldview. Your self-sufficiency exposes their dependency. Your silence reveals their noise. Over the next several minutes, I'm going to walk you through 6 brutal truths about why your family doesn't understand you. And more importantly, why that's actually a sign you're on the right path. This isn't about blaming your family or cutting them off. This is about understanding the fundamental incompatibility between the Sigma mindset and the traditional family structure that most people operate within. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete framework for navigating these relationships without compromising who you are. You'll understand why their confusion is inevitable, and you'll learn how to build your life on your own terms while maintaining whatever level of family connection actually serves you. If this resonates with you, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is dedicated to men who refuse to follow the script society handed them, men who are building something real in a world full of pretenders. We don't do surface-level motivation here. We do deep analysis, practical strategies, and uncomfortable truths. That's the Sigma way. Let's begin. 1. The invisible distance. The distance between you and your family isn't measured in miles or missed phone calls. It's measured in completely different operating systems running in the same household. While they're running on validation-seeking software version 1.0, you're operating on self-directed autonomy protocol 5.0. The incompatibility is built into the code. Let me paint you a picture. Your brother posts everything on social media. His relationship, his new car, his gym selfies, desperately collecting likes like their oxygen. Your father built his entire identity around what the neighbors think. Your mother measures success by how often you call and whether you're following the traditional path. And then there's you, building in silence, moving in shadows, investing in yourself while they're performing for an audience. This invisible distance started early, didn't it? You were the kid who preferred books over parties, who asked questions that made adults uncomfortable, who seemed content alone while everyone else needed constant stimulation. Your family didn't know what to do with you then, and they still don't now. Here's what the research shows us. According to psychological studies on attachment styles and personality development, approximately 15–20% of males exhibit traits consistent with high autonomy and low social dependency. That's the Sigma minority. You're literally wired differently than 80% of the population, including most of your family members. The invisible distance grows because every conversation reveals the gap. They ask about your dating life, expecting romantic fairy tales. You see relationships as strategic partnerships. They ask about your career, expecting corporate ladder climbing. You're building multiple income streams they can't even conceptualize. They ask why you're not at every family gathering. You're protecting your energy like the finite resource it is. Here's a real-world example. I consulted with a 32-year-old software engineer. Let's call him Marcus. Marcus built a six-figure online business while working his day job. He achieved what his family called success, but they still didn't understand him. Why? Because he did it quietly. No announcements, no celebrations, no seeking permission or validation. When he finally told them, their response wasn't pride, it was confusion mixed with suspicion. Why didn't you tell us? Why are you so secretive? Are you hiding something? The invisible distance isn't created by you. It's created by their inability to comprehend that someone can be complete without external validation. Their worldview requires everyone to need approval, to seek consensus, to follow the established path. You shattered that worldview simply by existing differently. And here's the uncomfortable truth they'll never voice. Your independence makes them question their dependence. Your silence makes them question their noise. Your self-sufficiency makes them question their need for constant reassurance. You're a mirror reflecting everything they're afraid to face about themselves. The distance will never close by you explaining yourself better. It closes only if they evolve. And most won't. They can't. Their entire identity structure would collapse. 2. Why they fear your independence. Fear. That's what you're seeing in their eyes when you talk about your unconventional path. It's dressed up as concern, packaged as love, delivered as, we just want what's best for you. But strip away the wrapping, and it's pure fear. Your family fears your independence because it threatens the fundamental contract they've built their lives on. Safety through conformity. They followed the script. Get the degree, get the job, get married, buy the house, have the kids, retire at 65. That script was supposed to guarantee security. And then you come along, tearing up the script entirely and still thriving. That's terrifying to them. Let me break down the psychology here. When you operate independently, you're proving that their sacrifices might have been unnecessary. Every time you succeed without their advice, you're demonstrating that the wisdom they clung to might be outdated. Every boundary you set proves that family obligation isn't actually mandatory for survival. Think about it from their perspective for a moment. Your father worked 40 years at a job he hated because that's what men do. He sacrificed his dreams, his health, his happiness, all for family stability. Now you're building something on your own terms, refusing to sacrifice yourself on the altar of corporate mediocrity. His fear isn't about you failing, it's about you succeeding, because your success invalidates his sacrifice. Your mother dedicated her life to maintaining family harmony, often at the expense of her own identity. She learned to be the peacemaker, the nurturer, the one who holds everything together. Your independence doesn't require her in that role. You're whole without the constant emotional maintenance. Her fear isn't that you'll be lonely. It's that you're complete without needing her to complete you. Here's a real case study. Daniel, 28, quit his $95,000 corporate job to build a digital marketing agency. His family didn't just question the decision, they actively sabotaged it. His father sent him job listings weekly. His mother cried, saying he was throwing his life away. His siblings called him selfish for worrying the family. 2 years later, Daniel's agency generates $40,000 monthly. He works 25 hours a week from anywhere in the world. He's achieved what they claimed to want for him, financial success and freedom. But they're still not happy. Why? Because he did it his way, proving their fear-based approach was wrong all along. The fear manifests in specific patterns. Watch for these: constant questioning of your decisions, bringing up every past failure as evidence you can't be trusted, comparing you to more stable siblings or cousins, using emotional manipulation. You're breaking your mother's heart. Gatekeeping family acceptance behind conformity milestones. This fear is about control. Family systems operate on predictability. Everyone plays their assigned role. The moment you step outside your role, the entire system destabilizes. You're not just choosing independence, you're threatening the family's equilibrium. And here's what makes it worse. You're actually proving that the fear they've lived with their entire lives, the fear of standing alone, of trusting themselves, of breaking away from the herd, that fear was misplaced. You're living proof that independence isn't dangerous. It's liberating. They can't celebrate your independence because celebrating it would mean admitting they imprisoned themselves unnecessarily. That's a psychological reckoning most people will never have the courage to face. 3. The price of walking alone. Let's be brutally honest. The Sigma path costs something. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you fantasy. You want the truth? Walking alone means you'll miss family gatherings and won't feel guilty about it. But they will make sure you hear about it for years. It means your success will be questioned more than celebrated. It means you'll achieve things your family won't understand and therefore can't fully appreciate. The price is paid in 3 currencies: misunderstanding, isolation, and delayed recognition. First, misunderstanding. Your family will interpret your independence as arrogance. Your silence as rejection, your boundaries as coldness. They'll create narratives about you that have nothing to do with reality. You're not the private person building something meaningful. You're the secretive one who thinks he's too good for the family. I've seen this pattern countless times. James, a 35-year-old entrepreneur, built a 7-figure business while his family continued to ask when he was going to get a real job. And at Christmas dinner, they'd introduce him as still doing his computer thing, while bragging about his cousin who became a middle manager at a bank. The misunderstanding isn't ignorance. It's willful blindness. They can't categorize you, so they diminish you. Second, isolation. Here's what nobody tells you about the Sigma path. You will spend significant time alone. Not lonely, alone. There's a difference. You'll be working on your business at 11 p.m. while your family's group chat explodes with memes. You'll skip the wedding because you're closing a deal. You'll choose the productive silence of your workspace over the chaotic noise of family drama. This isolation is strategic, not accidental. You're not avoiding family because you hate them. You're protecting your energy, your focus, your trajectory. But they won't see it that way. They'll mark you absent. They'll call you distant. They'll say you changed when really you just stopped pretending. The isolation gets deeper when you realize you can't share your wins with them. You close your biggest deal. They don't understand the industry. You hit a major milestone. They ask why you're working so hard instead of celebrating with you. You develop a skill that sets you apart. They ask when you're going to stop experimenting and settle down. Third, delayed recognition. Here's the cruel irony. Your family might eventually respect what you've built, but only after society validates it first. They won't believe in your vision until it's so undeniable that strangers are believing in it. You won't get credit for the courage to walk alone. You'll get credit only after the alone walk leads somewhere they can brag about. Consider this real scenario. David spent 5 years building his YouTube channel while working a day job. His family mocked it as a hobby. When he quit his job to go full-time, they called it irresponsible. 2 years later, he's making $300,000 annually. Suddenly, they're proud. But that pride rings hollow because it wasn't there during the struggle, during the risk, during the actual courage. But here's what they don't tell you about the price. You also gain something invaluable: freedom, self-trust, unshakable confidence, authentic relationships. When you filter out family members who can't accept you as you are, the ones who remain are real. When you build something alone, every success is genuinely yours. The price of walking alone is high, but the cost of walking the path others chose for you, that's bankruptcy of the soul. That's a life spent wondering what if. That's arriving at 65 realizing you lived someone else's vision. You pay either way. Choose which price you're willing to pay. 4. When silence becomes your power. The Sigma male's greatest weapon isn't what he says, it's what he doesn't say. While everyone else is broadcasting their every move, explaining their every decision, justifying their every choice, you've discovered something they'll never understand. Silence is strategic dominance. Your family interprets your silence as withdrawal. They see it as passivity, maybe even weakness. They couldn't be more wrong. Your silence is active, calculated, and more powerful than any argument you could make. Here's why silence works. It forces others to fill the void with their own projections. When you don't explain yourself, your family reveals more about themselves than you ever could about yourself. Their questions expose their fears. Their assumptions expose their limitations. Their demands for explanation expose their need for control. Watch what happens when you stop defending your choices. Stop explaining why you're not attending every gathering. Stop justifying your career path. Stop detailing your relationship status. The silence creates a vacuum, and that vacuum generates pressure. Pressure on them, not on you. I worked with a client, let's call him Nathan, who was constantly interrogated by his family about his finances. They demanded to know what he made, how he spent it, why he wasn't buying a house, why he traveled so much. For years, he tried to explain. Every explanation led to more questions, more judgment, more unsolicited advice. Then Nathan went silent. When they asked about his income, he smiled and said, "I'm doing well." When they questioned his choices, he said, "It works for me." When they demanded details, he said, "I appreciate your concern," and changed the subject. The interrogations didn't stop immediately, but they lost their power. Without his defensive responses, their questions hung in the air, unanswered and increasingly awkward. Within 6 months, they stopped asking. Nathan's silence trained them that this territory was off limits. More importantly, his silence preserved his energy for what actually mattered, building his life. Silence has 3 strategic functions in family dynamics. First, it protects your vision from premature criticism. Ideas are fragile in their early stages. Share them with your family too soon, and they'll pour their fear all over your dreams. Every doubt they voice plants a seed in your mind. Silence keeps your vision pure until it's strong enough to withstand scrutiny. Second, silence filters feedback. When you do speak, people listen more carefully. Your words carry weight because they're rare. The noisemakers in your family speak constantly, and everyone's learned to tune them out. You speak occasionally, and everyone pays attention. That's Power Dynamics 101. Third, silence builds mystique. Your family doesn't know exactly what you're doing, so they imagine. Sometimes they imagine you're doing worse than you are, sometimes better. Either way, you're occupying mental real estate without paying rent. They're thinking about you, wondering about you, maybe even worried about you, all because you chose not to broadcast. But here's the advanced play. Strategic disclosure. You're not silent about everything. You're selectively vocal. You share wins that serve your interests. You disclose information that reinforces boundaries. You speak up when it's strategic, not when it's expected. Think of it like poker. The amateur shows his cards constantly, seeking validation for his hand. The professional reveals nothing until the optimal moment. Your family wants you playing checkers, showing every move. You're playing chess, thinking 3 moves ahead. There's a philosophical dimension here too. The Stoics understood this 2,000 years ago. Epictetus taught that we should focus only on what we can control. You can't control your family's opinions, their fears, their judgments, but you can control your response. Silence is choosing not to play a game you can't win. Your family will call your silence communication problems. They'll say you need to open up more or share your feelings. That's manipulation dressed as concern. They want access to your inner world so they can control it. Silence denies them that access. The power of silence isn't in being mysterious for mystery's sake. It's in recognizing that your time, your energy, and your mental space are finite resources. Every explanation is a withdrawal from your account. Every justification is a payment you didn't owe. Silence is choosing to be wealthy with your most valuable assets. When silence becomes your power, you stop being reactive and start being intentional. You stop defending and start executing. You stop explaining and start achieving. And when your achievements speak for themselves, your silence becomes deafening. 5. The truth they'll never accept. There's a truth at the core of the Sigma path that your family will fight against forever. You don't need them the way they need you, not in the way they've defined need. This isn't about lacking love. It's about the difference between wanting someone in your life and requiring them for your identity. Your family operates on a dependency model. They need the family unit to define who they are. Remove the family context and they experience an identity crisis. You operate on a sovereignty model. Your identity comes from within. You're complete as an individual. That distinction terrifies them. Here's the truth they'll never accept. Their way isn't the only way. You've proven there's another path, one where you honor yourself first, and from that wholeness you engage with family on your terms. Robert, 40, built a successful tech consulting firm. His father had a stroke and his family expected Robert to move back home, sacrifice his business, and become the primary caregiver. When Robert instead hired professional care and visited weekly while maintaining his business, the family exploded. They called him selfish. But Robert's decision wasn't about loving his father less. It was about recognizing that his resources provided better care than his physical presence could. The truth they'll never accept has multiple layers. You don't measure love by proximity or frequency of contact. You can love someone and maintain boundaries. Love isn't demonstrated through sacrifice of self. That's trauma bonding. Family obligation isn't a debt you owe. You didn't ask to be born. Gratitude doesn't equal submission. Their discomfort with your choices is their problem to solve, not yours to fix. You're not responsible for managing their emotions. Success on your terms is still success, even if they don't recognize it. Their validation doesn't determine your value. Here's the deepest truth. You've outgrown the family system you were born into. Not because you're better, but because you evolved while the system stayed static. Most families punish differentiation. They reward fusion, thinking as one, acting as one. Your differentiation is read as betrayal. The truth they'll never accept is that you're showing them a mirror. Your independence reflects their dependence. Your authenticity reflects their performance. Your courage reflects their fear. You're not trying to make them feel inferior. You're just living authentically, and that exposes the inauthenticity of their approach. And here's the final truth. They don't have to accept it. Their acceptance isn't required for your path to be valid. Their understanding isn't necessary for your success to be real. Their approval isn't the measure of your worth. The Sigma path isn't about convincing others. It's about committing to yourself so completely that others' opinions become irrelevant noise in the background of your focused execution. They'll never accept the truth. Stop waiting for them to. Start living it anyway. 6. Building your empire without their approval. This is where theory meets execution. How do you actually build something meaningful when your family not only fails to support you, but actively undermines your vision? The answer? You build in spite of them, not because of them or against them. Your empire isn't a rebellion, it's an expression of who you are, and their opinion is irrelevant to its construction. Start with mental sovereignty. Before building anything external, develop what I call approval immunity. The psychological state where external validation doesn't dictate your self-worth or direction. How? Through evidence. Every time you make a decision based on your own judgment and it works out, you're building proof. Marcus, 29, wanted to start a fitness coaching business. His family said he was wasting his finance degree. Instead of arguing, Marcus made a plan. 18 months to hit $5,000 monthly revenue while working part-time. 12 months in, he hit $7,000 monthly. 2 years later, he's doing $40,000 monthly. His family still doesn't fully get it, but results are undeniable. Marcus's strategy reveals the blueprint. Build first, prove second, explain never. Here's your empire-building framework. Phase 1, silent foundation. Build in complete silence. Learn skills, make connections, test ideas, fail privately. This lasts 6 to 18 months. Phase 2, strategic emergence. You see results but stay selective about what you share. I'm working on a project. It's going well. You're protecting your vision, not hiding in shame. Phase 3, result-based disclosure. Share only when results force the conversation. You're not seeking approval, you're stating facts. I've built a business generating X revenue. Phase 4, boundary reinforcement. As your empire grows, family might suddenly want involvement. Set boundaries based on competence and fit, not guilt. Your empire isn't a family welfare program. Practical strategies. First, diversify your support system. Find mentors who understand your path. Join mastermind groups. Your family's lack of support is only devastating if they're your only source of connection. Second, document your journey privately. Keep a journal of wins and progress. When doubt creeps in, this reminds you that you're not crazy, you're growing. Third, set communication boundaries. Decide what you'll discuss and what's off limits. I don't discuss business strategy with family. Strategy conversations happen with my advisory board, not relatives. Fourth, achieve financial independence quickly. When you're paying your own bills, their opinions lose leverage. They can disagree, but they can't financially punish you. Fifth, reframe skepticism as fuel. Every doubter becomes motivation. Every "you can't" becomes "watch me." Here's what building without their approval looks like. You wake up at 5 a.m. to work on your business. They think you're wasting time. You skip family events for industry conferences. They think you're distant. You invest in courses instead of buying a house. They think you're irresponsible. And while they're thinking you're building, 5 years pass. You've built something that generates passive income. You've created freedom they can't comprehend. And suddenly their opinions don't sting because you're living proof that your way works. The empire you build without their approval becomes the ultimate validation, not of your worth to them, but of your trust in yourself. Every brick laid in silence, every milestone reached alone, every decision made against their advice that turned out right. Building your empire without their approval isn't defiance, it's self-belief. And that self-belief, fortified through execution, becomes unshakable. Your family might never approve of how you built it, but they'll respect what you built. And if they don't, you'll have built something so meaningful that their approval becomes irrelevant. That's the Sigma path. That's the empire. That's the freedom. Now go build it. So there it is, the complete truth about why your family doesn't understand you and why trying to make them understand is often a waste of your most valuable resource, time. Let me bring this full circle. Remember that dinner table scene I opened with? Here's what I didn't tell you. The Sigma male at that table isn't waiting for understanding. He's not trying to convince anyone. He's simply executing his vision while others debate whether his path is valid. Your family's misunderstanding isn't a relationship problem you need to solve. It's a philosophical gap that may never close. And that's okay. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Your family's opinions are outside events. Your path is yours to control. Here's your action plan moving forward. First, stop expecting understanding where it will never exist. Second, build your empire so undeniably that respect replaces understanding. Third, maintain boundaries without guilt. Fourth, find your tribe outside family structures, because the Sigma path is lonely, but it's not meant to be walked without any allies, just selective ones. The men who thrive on this path are the ones who made peace with being misunderstood. Steve Jobs was called crazy by his family. Nikola Tesla died alone and broke, misunderstood by everyone. Elon Musk's father said he'd amount to nothing. These men didn't need family approval. They needed family resilience to weather the storm of being different. You're watching this video because something inside you already knows you're built differently. You felt it your entire life. That feeling isn't going away, and trying to suppress it to make your family comfortable is spiritual suicide. Before you leave, I need you to do something. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Here's why this matters. Algorithm aside, when you subscribe, you're making a declaration to yourself that you're committed to this path. You're saying, I'm done pretending to be something I'm not. This channel is going to give you the tools, insights, and frameworks to navigate this journey with precision. Every video is designed to sharpen your Sigma edge in a world that wants you dull and compliant. Also, drop a comment below and tell me, what's the biggest misunderstanding your family has about you? I read every comment, and your story might be featured in an upcoming video. The Sigma path isn't easy, but nothing worth doing ever is. Your family may never understand, but your future self will thank you for walking it anyway. Now go build something they can't ignore.